It should even itself out when it comes. But I want to talk about the types of sellers we're working with, like our avatar. Who is it we're working with? How do we reach out to them? What are some of the most effective ways that I'm doing it and some of my counterparts are reaching out to sellers today? We're going to talk about the types of properties that you can wholesale, why people fail and they give up right away. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about texting and why texting specifically, not just as a cold source, but why it's so powerful and how you can use it a little bit better. And then I'll cap off with, I've got 6 from a philosophical level. I've got 6 ways of sourcing deals, 6 ways of looking at it. Me and Dan actually had a conversation yesterday, his transitions and really coming up with a tailored approach to finding properties that meet not only his schedule, but also his preferred method of having things come to him. Guys, when we're talking about marketing, I want to emphasize this. Your system that you choose, okay, the direction that you decide to go in your business, the goal is to systemize it so you have constantly incoming leads and then to constantly focus on the maintenance of that system. That can be referral based, that could be outbound, that could be warm leads, that could be referral sources, that could be other wholesalers, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But I want to emphasize that one of the key things is to make sure that you're fostering it and you're constantly having incoming leads. Andreas, what's up, my man? I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you. Nice seeing you again, Ronnie.
If you guys don't know, Andreas, he's doing a really awesome big deal, like a $500,000 deal. Is that one in New Jersey? Yeah, in New Jersey, and he was in the Iowa market, and he's got a really cool story. So cool. So to get started, I want to kick us off and really start with why people fail when they jump into marketing. Okay. And I want to break these mindsets initially, because this mindset, when people get in, it's one of the things that I see that keeps people from taking action right away, but also it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, if you don't take action and you just learn today, you're not going to get any results. Okay. If you guys just are here and you're like, yo, I'm going to take some notes, but you're not going to put anything into practice, you won't get results. A much bigger ROI on your action than there is just on the knowledge. And so what I'm hoping by the end of this, you'll have some action steps that you can put into place. And that way you can start sending out your marketing, or you can start generating leads immediately, because that's what this session is about. So you can constantly generate those leads, because once they're coming in and they're trickling, then you have people to reach out to and talk to, which we're going to talk about next week, and how to have that conversation. But before we can have that conversation, we want that continual trickle. And if you just take the knowledge and you delay the action, guys, you won't get the result. And even last week when we talked about that, I really want to harp on that, because it's self-defeating. And I've been there where it's like, man, is there any deals? And what's going on? And you're not actually taking the action to talk to the people who have the deals. And then it can feel like, man, there's no deals. Where are all the deals? How are these people getting all the deals? Well, they're getting the deals because they're sending out 500 text messages a day, or they're fostering one relationship and getting on the phone with one guy per day that they're building, and they're letting them know, hey, I'm still looking for blank. And it's that constant action that is spinning that ball that creates momentum. And in that initial momentum phase, that can be the most annoying, because you have to have faith. And while you're having faith, I want you guys to be gracious with yourself. When you start off at the beginning, a lot of times we'll send out 10 messages and we'll feel like we're doing a lot of work, and everything will be a negative response. Push through that negative response. The reason why people fail is they doubt that real estate works and these systems work, and so they stop. Number 2, they doubt that it will work for them. Okay, it's very, very, very simple, but they doubt, like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm bad. And then the third thing is they doubt that it'll work in their specific circumstance. All 3 of these things will be mindset things that you guys have to get through. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm working a full-time job, in the evening. I can't get back. I don't know if I can send the text messages. Maybe this isn't for me. Okay, and then you stop. Oh, I'm not that good at talking to people. I'm kind of an introvert. I don't know if people want to sell their property to me. I'm not really good at convincing people. And then you don't do the work to get the deals. And all of that is self-defeating. And if there's one thing that I've seen, guys, is that the mindset, I'm not just talking about rah, everything will work out mindset. I'm talking about the things we tell ourselves. ourselves over and over and over again, those things will either be our biggest superpower and cause us to win, or they'll be our biggest downfall. Okay. And I just want to pre-frame with that the choice really is behind closed doors when you guys are looking in the mirror and saying, okay, all right, what am I going to do? And if you believe in yourself and you have confidence that wholesaling and investing works, you have confidence that it'll work for you, and you kind of put that faith and you're gracious with yourself, you guys will win. So that's my pre-frame to this process in the marketing. So to start off, last housekeeping thing, I'm going to refer to a number of tools. These tools are in the Google Drive. Has everybody here looked at the Google Drive?
Yeah.
Okay. The tools that I'm going to be talking about today are in the marketing section of the Google Drive. Okay. So there's going to be lists and how to pull them. In the list and how to pull them, there's going to be how to filter criteria, and some of those specifics on exactly how to do that are in the Google Drive. The templates for texting, okay, messages to send, ways to start conversations are in the marketing side. So I'm going to refer to some of those tools. Some of them I might pull up. However, they're in the Google Drive. So if you guys have had a hard time or for some reason it prevented you guys from getting in there, let me know and I'll make sure you have access after this. But I just want to highlight that some of those specifics are in the Google Drive, because there's some really, really awesome stuff there, not just for marketing, but also for getting started. So when we talk about generating leads, to really kick off, when we talk about generating leads, the goal here is to create a funnel, okay? The goal is to create a funnel so you guys are talking to individuals. Don't miss the point here, all right? When you play a game of chess, the goal is to capture the king. When you start marketing, the goal is to get people to reach out to you or to raise their hand and say, I am interested, okay? That's the sole goal while we are actually looking for and trying to generate leads is, hey, I'm interested in having a conversation with you, all right? So the goal is not put a property under contract. The goal is someone to raise their hand so you can have a conversation with them. And think of it at the top of a funnel. I actually have a graphic here, but I thought I had it ready to go because I was going to show you, but I'm not seeing it. This is actually not the graphic I wanted to show, but I'm going to show this anyway. Let me share my screen for you guys. Share screen, and we are going to go here. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
So overall, this is from A to Z on wholesaling, okay? However, at the very top, the goal is simply to have leads coming into your business, whether it's a call center or you directly, and determining if they're motivated, okay? If they have a story, which we're going to talk about motivation here in a second. But I want you guys to remind yourselves that here the goal is people to raise their hand and say, I want to sell, and then for us to sort through them, all right? And so when you're sorting through them, think of it this way. Brian has heard me say this a number of times, is we're trying to sort through all the no's. No, 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 no. You say yes, boutique service. Boutique conversation, right? So no, no, no.
Platter style.
Yes, exactly. Boutique service. Now we're going to have a solid conversation with them. So as you guys are thinking about this process and you're thinking about marketing, it's not how good is my list? It's not how good are my leads? It's, am I focused on the right motivations? And am I sorting through people in a rate that allows me to have conversations with reasonable people? So I want you guys to think of that as this is a funnel into your system, whether it's Podo or just a phone call or whatever that looks like, so that way you're talking to people. And now when you're jumping into that, let me jump back over here. And when you guys are jumping into that, what we're looking for is we're looking for sellers that fall into three categories, okay? The three categories. And did anybody watch my live that I did about an hour ago? Anybody jump on?
No.
Okay, this is perfect. I touched on this. I actually did it in a way that if you did, this would springboard from that. We're trying to pull lists in three categories, okay? And find people in three categories. Category number one, you guys can write this down, is financial distress. People who have financial distress. Category number two is people who are in physical distress. They have a property that is in And physical distress means it's a fixer-upper, it's run down, it's boarded up, it's got tall weeds, it's got problems. And category number 3 is people who are in some sort of circumstance that's causing them to be in distress, okay? Or to create motivation is a better term. And so when we're pulling lists, when we're looking for people, think about it in these categories. When someone is sharing their story after you market to them, you're looking for one of these 3 categories. And so under financial distress, we hear often foreclosure, people who have back taxes, people in bankruptcy, people who have IRS liens or additional HOA liens or other liens on the property. When we're talking about physical distress, we're talking about the house is run down. There's no flooring and you can see the dirt under the house. I just bought one in Kalamazoo that we're cleaning out on Dayton, and there was trash like up to your waist through the property, right? This is physical distress. It's mold everywhere. It's disgusting, okay? Boarded up, tall weeds, the property is run down. And then circumstantial, which I would argue is the most common right now, is someone's going through a divorce or a relationship split up. They've got a death in the family of some sort. There is an illness or disability. We're running a lead right now that's this way. Or they're a landlord who's being taken advantage by a tenant and they're either going through an eviction or they just want to be done with the properties. These are all circumstances. So as people are sharing stories with you, that's what you're looking for. But before that, the cool thing about lists, guys, is we can target them. Okay. So this is a resource for you guys I wanted to pull up, and I think you guys will love this. When we're building our list, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's come down here. Sorry, trying to get my screen set up correctly. There we go. Can you guys see this? You see my screen? So these are the areas that I use to pull lists right now, okay? So when we're talking about these lists and we're focused on, you guys can go to these different sources, right? We've got PropStream, we've got Foreclosures Daily, we've got ways of pulling just directly from the county, we've got ways of doing criteria with PropStream. All of this is in the Google Drive, but these lists are constructed based on the type of person that we're looking for, okay? I want you guys to remember that. They're based on the type of person we're looking for. Are we looking for people who are behind on payments? Well, Citricato is a 30, 60, 90-day late list through bad credit, okay? Are we looking for people who are negative equity, right? That are maybe financially that we can do subject to. PropStream negative equity list is how you're going to pull that, right? And as you're going through these, you're going to see code violation, water shutoffs, evictions, and how to pull them. The idea here is who's our target person and how do we get a hold of them? And then on here, I have additional stuff on the timeframes when you pull them and what that looks like, which I can help you guys do directly. But as you guys jump in, as you're constructing that list, we start with who the client is, and then we back up and say, okay, who should we reach out to and how often? I want to stop there. Any questions on that? Any thoughts, any questions before we move to the next step? I know that's kind of high level, but as we're thinking about marketing, it's good to, if I just said, hey guys, go pull this list and market to it, like that's cool and you might get results, but if you don't know why you're marketing to them, you're going to have this hard time of like, okay, why should I reach out, right? Last night, and Dan, I just, it's on my mind, and so I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but we talked about an avatar of reaching out for him to have a constant referral source, and one of the things I mentioned was realtors, okay? Well, how many here has heard people like, hey, reach out to realtors and they'll refer you deals? Who here has heard that? Come on, raise your hand, interact with me, right? Everyone's heard that. Has anyone asked like, should I just call random realtors, or what type of realtors should I reach out to, right? We've thought about that because there's so many realtors. Who do we reach out to? Well, the idea here is, okay, who's a realtor who's going to actually send me leads? So as me and Dan were talking about last night for Referral Source, he's like, hey, I want to create this constant opportunity for me to review these deals, but I don't necessarily want to do texting and send out this stuff all the time. How can I build relationships? And so we broke this down. So here's an example of why this is specifically important with the types of sellers you're looking for. If you get a realtor who's done more than 4 transactions, and this is a nugget you guys can take that's not in the Google Drive, just an additional nugget. If you have a realtor who's done more than 4 transactions, they're not brand new, so they don't know how, they're not like, you don't have to coach them how to find a seller, right? But they're like in the business. They've done deals, they're hungry, they're making a little bit of money, they want to make more money. And then they've done less than 4 million in sales, okay? Which means, they've done on maybe 10 transactions, 15 transactions, depending on that price point. If you keep it under 2 million, you can get them even hungrier. What you have here is you have a recipe for an individual who's not making so much money that their stomach is full and they don't need you, but they're not brand new, so they don't know how to do the business. And what you have is you have someone who's hungry to work together and find deals for you. And so as a realtor, that's the type of person you want to go after. That is an avatar to get a referral source. And I have a buddy in Texas, Gabe Rodarte. This is his sole source. Like literally, these are the only people he goes after. That's it. It's his one source. That's how he does all these deals. He does 30 to 50 a year. I helped him set up his whole system. That's all he does. But the idea here is who's that target and how do I create the list around him? And if you guys can constantly think about that, what's going to happen is in shifting markets, you can adjust. Okay. Any questions on that before I move on to the next step?
So I got one real quick. So his entire business is based off of all MLS deals or deals that realtors have that have been late, or like, can you dig into that just a little bit for us?
Of course. Yeah, that's actually a great question. So he doesn't do almost any MLS deals. So nothing is on the market. What he does is he reaches out to the realtors and says, hey, here's my criteria. Here's what I'm looking for. Me and a small group of investors have money to place in the market. If you have a deal, reach out to me before you list it, and we might be able to make a cash offer.
Gotcha.
Right. And now, because realtors typically what they'll do if they work with investors, they'll get like 1 to 3 relationships of people they trust that will make them money and that will close. Right. And so your job is to create that credibility, because as soon as you make them money, they'll want to come back to you. Right. And so the goal here is when you're reaching out to them is to establish credibility and then follow up with them and then close a deal with them. Whether that's wholesaling or you buying it directly, doesn't matter. The idea here is to build credibility with them, create that source. So when they have an opportunity that's not the best listing, they'll call you and you'll be able to work that transaction as an investment type deal. Does that answer the question?
Yep. Thank you very much. Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions on that or on the list pulling in general? Dennis, Charles?
I got a question.
Yeah, Dakota, go ahead.
Is it for just kind of to play off the real estate agent thing? I was watching a Jerry Norton video the other day about like his double dip strategy about letting them list. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually love that. I think it's fantastic. And I think so what you'll find is agents are used to right now the pitch, right? Of, hey, you can come in here, you can make more money. What they're really trying to look for is your credibility. Are you going to be able to do this deal and how are you going to do it? And so being able to talk to them on, hey, this is how we're going to close this transaction, I think is key. So what I like to do, so my wife's a realtor. I don't know if you guys know that. My wife's a realtor. She lists most of our stuff. Okay. However, if we have an agent, I'll tell them straight up, hey, my wife's a realtor. We do the realtor game. We're very familiar with it. However, if you bring a deal, my goal is to build a relationship with you because I want more deals, right? And I want deals at my prices. So if you bring me something, I don't mind relisting with you, and I'll even relist at full price if it's a good enough deal. If it's not, I'm going to ask for a discount because I could do it in-house. But if it's a good enough deal, I'll just turn around and relist with you and you can get the full commission if it turns out to be a good deal. How do you like that? And a lot of times what that do, it'll spark conversation. But what you want to avoid, Dakota, is kind of this feeling of bait and switch. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they feel like you're just doing a pitch to get a deal, you'll turn people off. But if you're having a conversation of here's how we can work together, it's much stronger. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's what I would recommend is avoid the pitch as much as possible, right? The pitch is what turns people off. And it's like, yeah, when I get a deal. Instead, talk about, I think I said this the other day, and you guys will hear me say this more often, is your intention is more important than the technique, right? I want to do this deal with you, Mr. Realtor. I want to buy this house from you, Mr. Seller. That intention is more important than the technique. And the reason why it's more important is it shows that you're trying to be collaborative and get the deal done. Any other questions? Ruth, do you have any questions? Awesome. All right. So the next section, I'm actually going to put this back up here. So now we've talked about, go ahead.
I have one question. What about you're just new?
Yep. What about it?
Credibility when you're new. Like how?
So keep you, answer the rest of the question.
I'm sorry.
Ask the rest of the question. Sorry. I cut you off.
No, I want you to answer the question. So like how I brand spanking new.
Yep.
Approaching a realtor as a wholesaler.
Yes.
Like, is there a script for that? I always feel a little bit like it's illegal. I still feel like I'm not supposed to do that.
Okay. Okay.
You know, and then since I'm new, like how do you create that relationship or how do you get that going?
So that's like a great question. And the answer, it's Felicia. Is that right? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for asking that, Felicia. So the wrong answer is to fake being this amazing investor. That's the wrong answer. Okay. What people I have found in my experience are looking for, whether I'm experienced or not. I'll give you an example. So on the flip side, I've done a lot of transactions, right? And so I came to Michigan, and one of my biggest failures was coming to Michigan with a pedigree. And so what I did coming to Michigan and moving up here, I kind of toted, hey, I've done a lot of deals. I'll close your transaction. And I kind of was shameless with my experience. And what it hurt is actually pushed people away, right? Because if you brag about yourself, what's the natural thing? It might make you feel good because it's like, oh, I've done this, I've done blah, blah. You're trying to boost yourself up. People are kind of turned off by that. What people are turned on by is your hunger, is what you're going to do for them, is that you're going to work hard on their behalf and offer them value. And so when you're new, I would actually, I recommend, especially new acquisition coordinators. I think me and Andreas talked about this when he gets started. And I think me and Brian talked about this is you can literally tell them that you're new, right? You can tell them, hey, I'm getting started. I have, just a little bit of knowledge and experience. I'm looking for these types of properties. And it's either going to be me or one of my investors I'm working with to get these transactions done. But this is what we're looking for. Do you have anything, right? Hey, I'll be the most communicative person. If you reach out to me, I'll answer every time. And I'll let you know right away if we're able to do this deal or not. And so what you're doing is you're bringing a level of hunger to the table of, hey, I'm new, but I'm real and I'm looking. Okay. And that personal interaction when you connect with them and then the consistent follow-up, that's what sells people on you. Does that make sense? A lot of times we're afraid. Mm-hmm. And then out of the fear, one of two things happens, at least for me. And what I've seen over and over again is either we try to have a 30 to 40 minute conversation with them and we waste their time. Okay. Trying to prove to them that we're real. Mm-hmm. Or we feign confidence when we don't have it and you come across disingenuous and they don't want to actually refer stuff to you. Okay. Where if we're just vulnerable and authentic and share what we want, mm-hmm. more people are willing to give it to us or tell us, hey, I'm actually working with so-and-so and give us a real answer rather than shut you down. Okay. So that would be my answer there when it comes to those relationships and building it up. Just tell people, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for houses in this area. I'm looking for this. I'm fairly new, but I got me and a group of investors who are doing this together that I've connected with. And this is what we want. Are you coming across any of that? I saw you had a property over here recently. And that's how you build relationships with both realtors and other wholesalers that you can JV on. Because even other wholesalers are looking for the people who are actually doing deals or they believe will do those deals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So I want to jump down. I'm going to change up my format here a little bit. Who here is texting right now? Brian's texting, Matt's texting, Andreas is texting, Ruth, you're texting. Who here has gotten results from texting? Everybody who's gotten results. So texting, I want to give you a case that texting is one of the most important things in your entire business. Okay. There's 5 ways that I think are most effective to find sellers today. Okay. 1 is texting. It's one of the cheapest and most effective. 2 is calling them directly, but it's significantly less effective than it was in the past because more and more people don't want to talk on the phone initially. Okay. 3, especially with relationships with other wholesalers and realtors, is DMing through Facebook. Okay. DMing through Facebook. Sending a direct message is so powerful. 4 is PPC and doing some type of PPC lead management. And I've got 2 sources for you guys. I've kept these super close to my chest. I'm going to to drop them for you here in a little bit that you can get leads immediately. That I'm using both sources in my business. I've let Brian run some of my leads when I've been overwhelmed. And from these two sources, just between me and him working together on some, we've made over 50,000 in the last 3 months. Okay. From the two that I'll drop that you guys can explore right away. And then lastly is strategic direct mail. But the reason why texting is so important, and not just for marketing, but in general, is 95% of people who receive the text message look at it. Okay. This is powerful. This means you get their attention. Okay. Less than 20% of people open their emails. Even think of me reaching out to you guys, right? I send you an email, everyone gets it. When I get the text, then they go look for the email, right? Texting is super, super powerful. And so I believe everyone should be using texting. And then direct mail is even less than that, right? Less than 1% of people respond to direct mail. And so all of these things together, texting is very powerful because it grabs our attention, it gets right in front of people, and it allows them to respond immediately. We're talking about response rates in the 25 to 30%. Even if it's negative, you get people's attention. So I think everyone here should be texting. Okay. Everyone should be texting. It's one of the easiest systems to set up. Okay. Once you get the texting set up, you can push it out and you can create an easy stream of referrals right away in your business. So the texting model looks like this. Okay. And I want to give this to you guys really, really easy because a lot of people will get lost. One is select the list, which I just gave to you. Select the list you want to text to. Number two is reach out to that list provider and request the list. Okay. Step number three is skip trace that list. Step number four is scrub the list if it needs to be scrubbed. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, scrub the list is number three. Skip trace is number four. I apologize. I screwed that up in my order. Step number five is now import that list into your texting software. Send that list text messages at the tune of 500 to 1,000 per day. Use the scripts I've uploaded into the Google Drive to help you walk through the conversations and have a varying amount of messages and start your conversations. That's the texting model. I know this seems super simple, but once you do it, you get results. Matt or Dave, go ahead.
Can you repeat the number two, please, again?
Number two is reach out to that list provider and request the list.
Okay.
If you guys think about the way you would want to be contacted, the easiest, like we all get scam calls, we all get emails that are bull crap. You know, there's a ton of ways. Most of the time, if somebody has your phone number and it actually texts you, you either know them or it's somebody that somehow got your number and it's probably important. So you're going to open that text. And if you're actually think about a seller thinking about selling their property and you're like, hey, I'm an investor, I'm looking to, I'm contacting you about your property, hey, give me a call or whatever. 90% of the texts I send, I get at least a text back, either no, wrong number, or yeah, let's jump on a call. So I know when Ronnie and I first started talking together and he told me this, I was like, I don't mind being on the phone. I actually like an organic conversation, but texting has worked for us, for me, 10 times better than cold calling. And that's all I was doing before. Just straight cold calling. I called every single day, single line dialer, like all day long. And like texting, as soon as Ronnie told me how to do it, showed me how to do it, and I started implementing it in my business, like tenfold. I get way more people interacting with me, whether good or bad, than I ever did cold calling.
Matt also has started to get responses and jump into it. I know he's jumped into it as well and do that. But this system, literally, guys, this is all it is. Okay. Is you just pick the list, you reach out, you grab the list, you scrub it, you skip trace it, you import it, you send the messages, and then you start filtering through. And if you do that at the tune of 500 to 1,000 text messages a day, you will get leads and you will do deals. Like, I don't want to guarantee it, but I can basically guarantee it. Okay. If you go through there, like, you will get people who are motivated, who are reaching out to you and having conversations. And then from there, import that stuff into a way that you can constantly follow up with them and keep following up with them via text. Okay. And as you keep repeating this, it's that boring repetition that gets people coming your way. Okay. That's what gets people coming towards you. And literally as simple as, hey, are you still interested in selling the house at 123 Main Street? I have a follow-up system in Podo. I could show my Podo. So basically, I want to show you guys this. This is share screen number one. Do you guys see my Podo? Do you guys see this? So yep. out of this, This is basically what I have working right now. Okay. So I have 1,371 leads in the system right now. Discovery is people who've raised their hand, but we haven't reconnected with them. Okay. Opened once processing mean they responded positively and we're waiting for a follow-up call. Interested making an offer means we're getting ready to make an offer on them. And then the rest of these are basically follow-up. Okay. Some of them are dead, already sold, things like that. But these 211, these 469, these 444 on the offer follow-up, even the once retail price, the way we're following up with them guys is text message. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening. We're literally sending text messages and saying, hey, are you interested? Okay. And he got a follow-up text message from us saying, hey, are you still interested in selling? And that comes back in all through text message. And I really want to emphasize that because that really is so powerful, guys. It's super, super powerful. If you can do that, follow up with text message with relationships and or directly to sellers, anybody who's raised their hand, that's how the majority of guys who are doing deals right now are getting them, is through not necessarily the initial message, absolutely implementing texting as a follow-up and as a source of reaching out to them directly. Any questions on texting before I move on to the PPC aspect?
Podio, your recommended platform for sending those texts, or do you have any others that are out there?
So I actually have 3 recommendations. I don't do it through Podio. Podio is how I do my follow-up stuff. One, the easiest one is batch leads. If you do batch leads, they're the easiest software to use, in my opinion. Let me put in my opinion. 2, you can do launch control. Launch control is Andreas, are you doing launch control?
Yeah.
And then Matt is doing launch control as well. So launch control. And then the third system is Roar Genetics. That's the one I've used for a number of years and I'm continuing to do. Roar does need an introduction. You can't just go to their website. They're kind of a software company on the back end. So if you guys want to use that one, I can just send you the guy's email and we can do an introduction so you can do that. But batch leads, launch control, or Roar Genetics are the 3 tools.
Thank you.
To do that. And then from there, once those leads come in, I have it set up and it's very, very easy to set up so those leads can be automatically inputted into your CRM, whether that's Podio or you can look at REI Simply or one of those to transition that into that marketing or that CRM that you're using. Any other questions on texting? It's fairly easy, guys. And the really cool thing about it being easy, I want to take this a step further. If you guys get a VA and you do this system, just do those steps and record your screen while you do those steps. Okay. Get a free Loom account. Okay. LOOM, get a free Loom account and record yourself going to the website, pulling the list, uploading them, taking it, scrubbing the list, loading it into the system, all these little boring steps. Record each one, save them in a file. And now what you can do is you can take that file, go to upwork.com, get a VA and say, hey, I want you to do this work for me. And now you have a VA doing that work, pulling the list every time you want them pulled, scrubbing them and uploading them. They can even send the text messages for you every day. Okay. And what this does is it allows those messages to go out without you having to push the button. Okay. Without you having to push the button. For me, that was the hardest part. They say as a salesman, the hardest door to open when you're doing door-to-door sales is your own, right? You drive up, you get in the neighborhood and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of this car and walk to the door, right? And knock on the door. Once you're in the conversation, it's fine. It's all that fear. If you can remove that fear that you're going through pulling the list, through paying for it, through all of that, and you just say, hey, VA, this is exactly how you do it. Do it on this time scale. You remove that button being pressed from you and you create consistency. That's how you create consistency in your business, especially when it comes to this. Charles, do you have a question?
Yes. How long does it normally take to send out those 500 messages on average?
Very, very quickly. But batch and roar, all you do is literally you just have your mouse and you're just clicking 500 times. That's basically what you do. So to send it out, you're literally just clicking the button. And I recommend just sending them all out at one point. Literally just send them all out. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a couple calls, right? What is this text message about? What is that? You might get 2 or 3 calls. You might get less. You might get more. You probably won't get more. You'll probably get 1 to 3 calls of people just reaching out to you. Then you'll start getting a poured in response from who is this? F off. remove me from your list. Yes, please call, right? There's a number of responses. There's probably like 10 responses that you'll get. And then you just start working them. What I would recommend is don't worry about the no's. You do want to clean them out, but it's really easy to give all our attention to the no's. Sort through the yeses first and then clean up the no's later. Okay. So anybody who responds positively, they get our attention. Any positive thing at all, even if it's yes, or who is this, or whatever, those get your attention. The rest of them, just either remove them, or if it mentally is messing you up, right? Where it's like, dude, these people are yelling at me. Like 20 people just yelled at me in 20 seconds, right? Through text message. Like, don't focus on it, right? Because that stuff happens. Focus on all the positives and then go back and clean up all the no's. That's exactly how you do that. And then you just repeat it again tomorrow and do it 5 days a week. Literally do it 5 days a week, or whatever the consistency you can. If you can just have 1,500 a week, 2,500 a week going out over and over again, that's your first system. All right. Number 2, actually, I'm just going to jump down. This is probably going to be the easiest thing for you guys to set up right now. It does cost a little bit of money, so factor that in. Who here has heard of needs to sell.com? It's needs to sell my house fast.com. Anybody heard of that? Matt, you've heard of it because I mentioned it to you.
Actually, before you and I even started working together, I actually found that website. So I was trying to find a more efficient way to find leads.
Okay. Brian, you know it because of me too.
Yep. Yes, I do.
Anybody else? Okay. So if you go to needs to sell my house fast.com, I'll send you guys a link. I'll send you guys a link. What it is it is a internet marketing site that basically allows you to bid on houses in your area. Okay. You can select an area, select it, and select a bid amount, and you select a dollar amount. Now, what you do is the highest person gets the lead. Okay. Gets whatever that lead is. Now, for a long time, I'm going to give you a super ninja strategy. For a long time, I was the highest bid in my area, which gradually worked its way up to $350 a lead, $400 a lead. And I'd go in there every day, or have my VA go in there and just adjust it to whatever the highest was, as long as I had a budget, right? Which at that point I was spending $8,000 a month on this source alone. Okay. And I did deals. I was doing deals, but the lead ratio to my deal ratio was not what I wanted. Okay. I wanted it more. So I decided, I think it was like on the 20th of the month, I'd gone through like 3/4 of my budget. Instead of turning it off, I just pulled my bid way back to being one of the lowest bids, like $100 a month. Okay. Or not $100, $100 a lead. And I just left it. So I wasn't the highest bid. Well, what happens is when other people's budgets run out, they go to the next person. And then when that person's budget runs out, it goes to the next highest person. Okay. So what I did is I just set all the active areas that I was interested in at the price I was willing to pay. And I let the leads roll in based off of when everybody else ran out of money. And guys, I nearly quadrupled my lead flow. No joke. Now at the beginning of the month is very, very light, but like right now, I think in the last week, I've gotten like 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Like at $100 a piece with no system, with no services, nothing. I just pay $100. And if it's on the market, if it's another wholesaler, if the number doesn't work, any of that happens, I can request a refund and I can open a dispute and it'll be refunded right away. I highly, 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 highly recommend everybody here go in there and do that. Okay. It is not something I'm sharing publicly at all. It's something I do in my business in my specific areas. And I just did a novation deal, closed on that last month. I did a deal in South Haven, wholesale deal, closed on that. I have a deal in Sand Lake that's going to be $100,000 plus deal. I bought it for $294. He bought it 3 years ago for $274. He put $70,000 to rehab in it. He moved overseas and it has an appraisal where I bought it for $430. That came from that. And then my current flip that I have in Kalamazoo was a follow-up. Sorry, that was a text follow-up. I feel like I'm missing one. Anyway.
Yeah, EO is one.
EO, gotcha. So highly, highly, highly recommend you guys go in there. And even if it's a low budget, even if you just do $1,000 or $500 a month or whatever that is, go set it up for your area. Okay. Now, everyone here is kind of in a similar area. So I would choose the counties and stuff that you're in, but just set the price that you guys are okay with. Because if you set that price at whatever budget, when stuff is available, it'll kick to you and you'll get a text message. So just set it up on whatever is good for you guys. It is very, very, very strong. And the leads are really good. Okay. Obviously, every source has leads of people who are not interested, but the people who are interested are very interested. Okay. Are very interested. I can't speak highly enough. I'm doing probably 60% of my actual closed deals are coming from that right now. Okay. Because I just went all in on it because I wanted high motivation and lower reps. Because one of the things I'm dealing with, which is a little bit different, is just time and filtering through with a lot of different stuff. So I just focus because of the motivation there. And I think my current budget in it, I think I scaled back to $4,000 a month. I was doing $8,000 a month for a little bit, and I'm scaling up and down based on my lead flow. So highly recommend that. The second source is very similar to it. It's more expensive. I have done a couple deals from them. I've not done a lot like Needs to Sell, but the other one is iSpeed to Lead. If you guys go to iSpeed to Lead, this one's a little bit different. You can actually buy the lead directly. You don't bid on it. It is, you go to it. It allows 3 people to buy the lead per area, and you can set it up where you get it notified right when you do that. They are also very good leads because it's all PPC. It's all internet leads, but they're a little bit more expensive. They're anywhere from $250 to $300 a lead. It's not my favorite when it comes to price, and you can't do the other strategy that I talked about, but it is another very high quality lead. If you're looking for high quality leads without the system in place where you're pulling lists, this is an easy one to implement. And then lastly, before I get into the different ways you can find properties and wrap up, trying to keep this to an hour. I was hoping not to go over, but hey, that's all right. Direct mail. I have a specific direct mail strategy I use, and this is probably the highest return direct mail I've ever done. My history is in direct mail. That's how I started this business. I was sending out 10 to 20,000 direct mail pieces a week at the height of my direct mail, both letters, postcards. In the Google Drive, you will actually see my letter template that I custom made that I used in my business for probate, for foreclosure. They're all a little bit different. Those are my letters. You won't see those anywhere. Those are my letters that I've used for 7 years. Okay. Direct mail, if you are doing the texting, this is how I want you guys to implement it. When you skip trace, okay, who here skip trace a list? Who here has done a big skip tracing before? Okay. When you skip trace a list, you get all the phone numbers and data. Okay. At the bottom of the list, there is a whole bunch of no data information. Okay. Of leads that pulled no data. Okay. Most people erase that and just take their skip trace list and text it, cold call it, do that. If you take that no data, you export that into a direct mail campaign, that becomes your direct mail. Guys, this tip alone will make, like, if you implement this strategy and you send 8 to 12 pieces of direct mail to that list, the ones you pulled from the lists, you've skip traced, there's no data, you pull that out, and that becomes your direct mail campaign, that strategic targeted area of the list you are on. And you hit that 8 to 12 times over the next 24 months with a varying rotation of pieces, you will get deals from that. Nobody's able to contact them via text message or a phone number. They will get your letter alone, and it'll be followed up. That's highly targeted. And so you're saving money on that. Any of the return mail that you get from it, the return mail come back, take that piece, set it off to the side, and try to find those people on Facebook. Friend request them and send them a DM. That's how we're doing it. That exactly. So that is when I say like most effective ways. Texting for consistency, PPC, so you have high motivation, strategic direct mail. And all of this is directly at the 3 categories of motivation: financial distress, physical distress, and circumstantial distress. And these categories, and you guys have the lists and the list providers that you can go and pull in from, guys, it's really, really simple. But if you can just automate it and do it on the budget that you're able to do, what will happen is you will be highly targeted in a consistent way. And this is what I'm doing right now. And this is what I'm finding is most effective. And then just whatever your budget is, whatever your schedule allows, constantly create that rhythm. And a cool little maybe hack, if you don't want to create the system, to wholesale or to buy the deals yourself. Walking other guys through their marketing and then being willing to close or jump on the phone with their leads is also how you can get more deals. My first partnership I jumped into way back in 2014, we basically reached out to all the wholesalers in our network, and I offered to work their leads for them. Any leads they couldn't close, hey, I'll jump on the phone, I'll negotiate it, I'll run the appointment. That's how I bought most of my deals, guys. I JV'd with them and I gave the guy 50%. I did that because they spent the money on the marketing and I was willing to close it for them. That's how I did a huge portion of my first deals. And so if you don't necessarily want to create the system, if you create the relationships and then be the guy who will help them close the deal, that's the other way to create that consistent income coming in. So wrap up. It's 8:30. Give me some questions. I know I've dived into a lot there at the end. Any questions on those things? Come on, we got to have some questions. Dennis.
I got on the batch. Can you hear me? Everything good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got the batch leads, and does the option to text, does that come up after you skip trace?
Yes. So batch leads has an upgrade feature in their system, and you have to get the texting platform. So their platform is, I think it's threefold actually, but you have to actually get their texting, and it's texting, cold calling, and leads. You actually have to get the cold calling / SMS platform. I think it's an additional like $49 a month outside of just the lead pull system. So I use PropStream for our leads. I've done batch. I just like PropStream, and I have a whole, if you actually look in that list, you'll see how all my different criteria for PropStream. You could take and mimic that in batch leads. I just don't really pull leads in batch, but they're very similar.
Got it.
So you can just take the criteria and get really niche down with that stuff.
All right, cool. Sounds
good.
good.
Really good question, man. Really good question. What else? Dan, you had a question.
Yeah, you mentioned PPC.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Pay per click. Thank you for clarifying that. So that is Google Ads. Pay per click. Yeah, pay per click. So that's like, when you go to Google and you search and the ads come up, that's what PPC is. That's like your ad will pop up. So when someone says sell my house as is, your website will be the top one because you paid for that spot. Okay. So my website, thewalkergroupusa.com, I have leads going to that through pay per click. I have a guy that works. I do have a system that I basically set everything up on. I don't have that systemized in a way that's easily transferable. I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. And then I did some research through like Sean Terry's system and just asked a lot. It took me a lot, but now I have a guy actually managing those ads. But yeah, that's basically internet leads. People who are searching, sell my house fast, sell it as is, sell without a realtor. Those are keywords that we are targeting that get people to come in. And that's what makes needs to sell my house fast and iSpeed to lead so good, is those leads are internet driven leads of people who search for those terms, and they're filtered directly to you. You just pay a little bit of a premium if you have a good service. Instead of paying $75 a lead is about the cost to generate those. If you're doing them yourself with the investment, you're paying $150 to $200 a lead, but you only have to pay for that. You don't have to set up the whole system. You pay for it when you get the lead, but you're just paying a premium. That's why that system, I like it so much, is I have my own, but I also do that, and I'm kind of going back and forth. And because of the management, there's an overhead here. There's no overhead here. I can just turn it off or turn it on, which is really nice. I hope that answers the question. What else? What else we got?
This might be a rookie question, but like if I wanted to look up tonight a list of foreclosures in a certain county, like what's the best way to do that? Just go on their website? What am I looking for?
So the way I would do it, so you can do two things. If I was looking for foreclosures right now, I would start with like a PropStream service.
Okay.
I would start with a PropStream service.
Right.
The counties do foreclosures differently. So if you go to the counties, you can see the ones that have been posted for foreclosure, but every area is a little bit different. If you find directly how to do it. So when I was doing foreclosures, for instance, years ago, I was going on to it was called Rome. in Texas. Okay. And what I would do is that day, I would say, what are the notice of defaults that were posted at the courthouse? And it would pull up every single property that was posted or record. Every day, I was pulling that. I was pulling the probates that were filed per day. And I was pulling the appointment of substitutory trustee when they went into, so notice of default is when they're going to foreclosure. Appointment of sub is when they've missed payments. I was pulling those every single day, exporting them into why can't I think of it? It's like you have an Excel sheet and it like forwards into your marketing piece. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, yeah, you're basically, let's call it something. It might come to me. Anyway, I was doing that every day, printing off my leads and then sending that out the next day. That's what I was doing. I probably did that for 2 years straight before a buddy of mine came out with a system called Propelio, where he automated that process on the back end and gave you the leads. It was just a 2-day delay. And then I just started doing that. And then he provided that to all the investors in DFW and it saturated that source. Okay. For me, at least. What I would do is I would go to the county directly, call the clerk and say, hey, where are the public stuff notified on the internet? Probate, foreclosure, and pre-foreclosure. Find out where that is, and then you can pull that stuff for free. Okay. That's what I would do directly. That's how you do it for free, but the process is manual. It's very manual. You can pay. And if you go to that sheet, the lead sheet, foreclosuresdaily.com, you can pay for that stuff to come to you. They basically deliver everything that was put in this week. They'll deliver it to you on a weekly basis. So you can just grab everything that's filed this week in your county, but you have to pay for it. And it's slightly expensive because it's very, very tailored, but you can do it for free if you're willing to do the manual work.
Okay.
A quick tip on that, the easier stuff to pull outside of foreclosure and probate is actually water shutoff, code violation, and
taxes.
Taxes is easy. So taxes, I really like taxes. Actually, I've hit taxes a lot. Taxes, because they're not like daily, they're kind of a quarterly pull. So I just pull my taxes from PropStream because it's a quarterly update. I know people get, they file it every month, but it's not really, a lot of them stay the same. So I actually pull that quarterly to see if it adjusts and changes if anyone's delinquent.
Okay.
But yeah, if you do water and code violation, and specifically with code violation, you're looking for condemned and trash and debris violations. Those are very specific, harder to get lit. Oh, evictions. That was the other thing. Evictions are filed with the county. Those are also easier to get. You can request those. All of those are harder to get lists that are free that will be more targeted.
You get those from the county too?
You get those from the county too. Yes, you do. Really good question. What's that?
What was that third one again? I have water
Evictions.
code violations.
Eviction notice. When people file an eviction, that's a public form when they're getting people out. And so when that happens, they're in the midst of obviously getting out a bad tenant.
So I don't know how many of you have like PropStream or batch leads or something. So if you guys want to pull a list, PropStream does a free 7-day trial. So you can go on there for 7 days and play with it a little bit. It took me, when I first started, I did it all by myself. So I just sat for hours and tried to figure out how to pull lists on it. But after you do figure it out, it makes the process a lot easier and a lot less time consuming. PropStream does charge $100 a month after the 7 days. So if it's something that you guys can't afford, make sure you keep your login information and stuff, and you can cancel it before that. But it's something that you'll use as your business grows, as you guys do deals. It's something that you'll use every single day. It's like it's like getting a glass of water. You sit down at your desk, it's the very first thing I open next to my email, because leads start coming in. A lot of times they'll either come text message, I'll get them via email, and PropStream is the first thing I look at. Everybody does this a little bit different. When I'm talking to a seller, somebody that's interested in selling their property, I want to look at their data while they're talking to me. It just gives me an eye into what they're talking about, so I know what they're talking about. So if they're like, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on an acre lot, blah, 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 I can look at PropStream and pretty much look at, not necessarily all the pictures, because the pictures of the property don't show up. You can find some of those on Zillow or Redfin, but PropStream will give you all that information, like how much they bought it for. So while you're thinking about making them an offer, you can be like, well, I know you bought it for 65,000 in 2019. So I'm not giving you 300,000 for your house unless you guys, unless you just, hit the lotto and put a ton of money into this property. And in that case, they're going to want to sell it on that MLS anyway.
Right.
So it gives you a lot of information. PropStream is, I've never used Batch. A lot of people like Batch. I've never used it. I've had good and bad things. Everybody has their own little thing that they try to figure out. If I could give you a piece of advice, I don't know if Ronnie would agree, but I would pick one and stay with that one so that you can really figure it out. Like I've been doing this almost 2 years and I still learn things from PropStream that I didn't even know existed. They do a little tutorial video.
The cool thing with that too is if you're trying to pull the list, if you look at that list sheet, look at exactly the criteria, that exact criteria in there. I've already mapped it out. And that comes from the guy who actually pulled the data sources for PropStream, by the way. His name's Steve Moore. He helped set up those quick filters. He's the one who had walked me through that. So guys, it's 8:40. I want to respect your time and everything there. If you have additional questions as you're setting this up, reach out to me. I want to be able to help you guys and support you in this setup. Getting this set up is the fuel to the engine. Okay. Doesn't matter what you pick. Pick one, put it in motion. Once it's in motion, you'll create that consistency. My favorite topic is what we're going to talk about next week. It's the thing I'm most passionate about, which is the conversation and the sales process. However, go into the marketing spreadsheet, look at the lists, look at the where to pull them, the marketing stuff, really get familiar. And then as you guys are interested, just reach out. If you have questions, there's some nitty gritty stuff. I want to be able to make sure this is set with whatever that first funnel is for you so you can get that consistency so we can start getting results. I want everybody in here, I want to get their next deal through one of these systems. I want to get that set up so you guys can get that deal and we can keep moving forward. So with that being said, guys, have a wonderful night. And this recording, I'm going to put on a spreadsheet. And so if you want to go to anything specific that we talked about, it will also be in the Google Drive so you guys can come back to it. So if there's anything you guys want to reference or like jump to, this will be in there as well. So guys, thank you so much for your time and I'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ron.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Ron. See you guys. Good night.
Good night.